Friends, I'm really happy today to launch this new channel, my personal channel. Basically, the main objective of this channel is to, share my knowledge, whatever knowledge I have, obtained during my long years of experience in my career and outside. Dealing with various organizations and the awareness, generally to share the awareness, to create awareness and a thinking process, a new way of thinking, the way to look at certain burning topics, topics of contemporary interest and some technical interest. I will try to make things not too much of technical in a few videos, but then there could be some special videos which is meant to be a little more technical. Today I start with a very general discussion on a contemporary topic of waste management. Today that is a matter of great concern to a lot of people, the waste management system, especially when you talk about municipal waste. The cities, the villages, everywhere we're facing this problem of how to dispose the waste generated, especially the solid waste, and also, certain calamities like the fires which happened, in certain places where these wastes are being dumped, and the way people are dumping waste just like that on the roads and various other places. So, if you talk about waste management per se as a topic, it's a huge topic in itself. So one needs to spend really quite a lot of time to talk about waste. Especially a person like me who has come from an industrial background. I was very fortunate that I was closely associated with various waste management treatment facilities and technologies. In fact, last few years of my career, I was very much in charge. I was technical in charge of a grassroots refinery and petrochemical complex of world scale. So I happened to get an opportunity to interact very closely with a lot of experts, consultant and global experts and global consultant, because that is a global project. In fact, our design of that project and most of the technical work was being done outside India, UK to be precise. So, since that was a grassroots project, there was a requirement for developing the complete systems with a master plan, and all the building blocks are to be built up, start from the scratch, and along with the project the whole city has to be developed. So this has given me a lot of opportunity to look at even the waste treatment plant out of it, the water conservation, the reuse of water, and various other resources and renewable energy. All sorts of things were covered in that grassroots project. So basically, when you look at the major issue of today, what we face on the waste management, let us look at waste as, per se. What is that waste? What are you talking about? Waste is something in terms of technical terms, we call it as a pollutant, basically. When you talk about pollutant, of course, that brings us to the very, very important topic of environmental protection, which is a very, very important, again, hot topic today, with all those conventions, Stockholm Convention, Geneva Conventions, and all sorts of things. People talk about global warming, acid rains, and, very high level, natural calamities and challenges which we talk about today. That also brings in the very great importance to be given on the personal responsibility, the responsibility of each and every individual, to look at the concerns on the environment, the protection, environmental protection, the polluting the environment. This is something which is, one has to look at with great care and love for the Mother Earth, the Earth which is, given us all the resources, to meet our needs. The importance when it comes to the environmental concern is a belief a belief on every individual that whatever need we need, whatever we have the needs, that has to be met from the environment, from the earth. But the future generation also should be able to meet all their needs, which is very important. And that brings us, a great sense of responsibility, not to pollute the environment, because a sustainable development, by definition, it means that a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own demands or their own needs. Basically this is a concept, which needs a lot of thinking. The priority, the world's priority should then, it is actually shifting. The world's priority is nowadays shifting towards environmental protection, which has become our own sustenance is now dependent on the, people have realized that depends on the type of pollution, what we do, and how we protect the earth for the future. So it's a question of now becoming more than the convenience or the benefits what you're going to get. It's a question of survival. We have to survive. We have to survive for the future generation. The earth has to survive for the future generations. So the idea of limitations imposed by the state of technology and the organization on the environment's ability to meet the present and future needs becomes very, very, very critical. When you talk about waste, so first of all, we have to have a strong belief. Every individual has to believe that we have to care for the Mother Earth. We should not pollute it more than what is natural. Natural in the sense, let me tell you, even when in industries, when you talk about waste management, today we talk about zero waste management, zero liquid waste, zero solid waste. That is just a misnomer. When you go into more and more details, you will understand that there is nothing called zero waste. Pollution is always going to be there to a small extent. So you cannot forego development. You cannot forego technological advancement for the fear of no pollution at all. That is just a misnomer. It's a utopian. It's just not feasible. It's quite natural actually that some amount of pollution has to happen. A human being also, when we breathe, we exhale carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a substance which causes global warming. It's quite natural that something is going to come out. There are many animals like cows, they exhale methane. Methane comes out in good quantities. The cattle. But then methane is deadly from the point of view of global warming. It is more than almost 20 to 30 times more severe in global warming as compared to carbon dioxide. Although carbon dioxide in quantity, it's huge as compared to methane is it's only there in traces in atmosphere, whereas the lethality of methane is much more compared to carbon dioxide when it comes to global warming. These are all natural things, you look at the human body. Human body is a fantastic machine. Great machinery, computerized machinery. Whatever you want to learn on engineering, you can learn from the human body. Different parts of the body, how each part of the body contributes to the well-being of the human body on the whole. Any small part disobeys or it doesn't work, it will definitely manifest on your own health, overall health. And human body also treats the waste, all the toxins, toxic substances, everything, whatever we consume, whether through mouth or from the breathing, everything is being processed very well, and finally a sort of a waste which comes out, whether in terms of stool or urine or what do you call the sweat or exhaling air, or you emit certain end of the process material. But then fortunately from human body, what it comes out mostly, it is all biodegradable organic substances, so it doesn't do any harm as such to the environment. But then that also needs further treatments, post treatments like sewage treatment. You have a sewage treatment plant to recover and you can turn it into good water. In fact, many industries nowadays, the sewage treatment plant is there through various methodologies, including reverse osmosis. You can convert it into good water, which can be utilized back into the industries, because water has become now a very scarce resource. As people say, only 5% of the total water is drinking water. Nowadays, many places where water is a big challenge, drinking water is a big challenge, potable water is a big challenge, like Gulf countries and all. In huge quantities, they do reverse osmosis of seawater. Seawater is getting turned into, good water. Even in India, many places it is being done. In industries also it is being done. But then, is it a foolproof methodology? Definitely not, because when you use seawater to purify, only 40% of the total quantity what is fed to the reverse osmosis plant comes out as a good water. 60% of it is rejected back as hard water, very hard water of very high ppm, concentrated solids. Generally, abroad in many places it is sent back into the sea. Maybe, you have long pipes which goes deep into the sea. But then when it is discharged in huge quantities, the high ppm, blackish water into the river body or the sea water, it affects the microorganisms or fishes and organisms. It's not natural. It's actually you're doing a harm to the nature. So any activity, when outwardly it may look like you're doing something good, but then there is always a connected waste generation part of it, pollution part of it, harmful effect on the nature, which is something very, very, very critical when you talk about any development, any human activities, any actions what you do. So coming back to the topic of waste management, by the way, this is my new channel on various knowledge sharing topics. In fact, one after another, I'll be coming out with certain interesting burning topics of contemporary interest, and we will discuss on the technicality, little bit technicality, and some videos will go little deeper into more and more technicality. But this first video is a general discussion on certain high level concepts. I'm not going deep into the various processes and technical details on this video. This is a general thinking process as an introduction, and I would request you to please subscribe my channel and give your likes, and please do share my videos. That will definitely help, and we should have a long-term relationship. You should follow my channel by subscribing, liking and sharing. So waste, as we say in very high level terms, we have different types of waste, solid waste, then liquid waste, gaseous waste, and sound is a pollutant in industry level when we talk about pollution control measures. But then, as we discussed, there is nothing like zero waste. It has to happen. So something, end of the day, after all the treatments, pre-treatments, post-treatments, whatever you can think of, the latest technological developments, finally something will finally come out for the landfill. Something has to go into the land. But people say if it is biodegradable material, it will easily degrade and it will become part of the soil. But in case of the substance, today's biggest challenge being plastics, when you talk about plastic, it's not biodegradable. It can stay hundreds or thousands of years just like that. And some plastics are definitely harmful in the long run if you just dump it outside. So plastics is another topic. We will be dwelling quite a lot. We will be coming out some videos on the exclusively on the plastics and the polymers in general. In India, in fact, today we are already started facing big problems with plastics. Plastics consumption in India, as per the latest, per capita consumption is only around 15 kg 15 kg, as against countries like USA, the per capita consumption is 100 plus. It's almost like 110 kg per capita. China, it is like something like 60. The world average itself is 30 kg. Whereas in India, even today, we have reached only 15 kg. There is this is going to grow explosive. There is going to be an explosive growth in the usage of polymers. The polymer materials, plastic materials, are great substitutes to other materials. Considering its lightweight, the strength, the flexibility, ease of processing, and the aesthetic looks. All there are various, parts of convenience which makes polymer consumption is going to grow up like anything. There will be an explosive growth. In fact, even though the per capita consumption in India is only 15 kg, we say we are far below other countries. The total consumption, if you look at, because our population is very high, it is one of the top. We come in the top 3. So that's why the top, we are one of the top countries. Year after year it changes, either first place or second place, third place. We always remain in the top place in this, in terms of the quantities of plastic waste generated. We are the highest. We are one of the highest, which is a big problem, which is a big challenge to the nature, the environmental protection, the environmental concern which we are talking about. It's something, it's phenomenal. So plastic, and then the burn, recently there were issues on the burning of waste. Burning of waste itself is a big issue. It's a big challenge, because of the, again, if you just dump the waste on the ground due to anaerobic, digestion, the organic materials get digested, and a lot of methane is produced. And methane, as we started telling in the beginning, it's harmful to the atmosphere from the point of view of global warming. And a fire like what has happened in the case of Brahmapuram plant, which took almost 13 days to extinguish. One of the big reasons is because from the underneath layers, methane gets formed. And once methane catches fire, it's very difficult to extinguish. In fact, there has been apprehensions on the type of firefighting, what we do. If you simply have a firefighting with respect to water alone as an extinguishing agent, it may not work when it comes to a lot of methane. That's not a class A fire, a fire which is a bit different, even when it comes to the type of extinguishers you require for extinguishing the fire. Now, coming to this plastic burning, it is still worse. People say that deadly poisonous gases like dioxins and furan is emanated from plastic burning. What they call as TCDC, tetrachloro dibenzoparadioxin, which is a dioxin, most toxic dioxin, and then PCDD, polychlorinated dibenzofurane. Then polychlorinated biphenyl, PCB. These are all deadly chemicals which can come out of plastic burning, which can cause neuro diseases, reproductive damages, damages to the immune system, liver function damage, skin problems, cancer, all sorts of issues. So one should be very, 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 very careful about, in fact, that brings me to the idea, to the topic of individuals. Some people, they burn small quantities of waste in their household. When you blame, the treatment plants or the government agencies, the pollution control people who are not able to monitor the waste treatment facilities where uncontrolled burning is happening, people are doing it in their own compounds. I have come across people, I have tried to educate some of the people. You just burn certain combustibles, okay, to some extent it's fine. Even that combustibles like paper or wood pieces, combustion of those things also generate a lot of pollutants like dust particles, particulate matter, and carbon dioxide. So there should be a controlled incineration process which is required. Instead, people just put it outside compound and just burn. In the bargain, what happens? All other unwanted waste like biological waste, diapers and sanitary napkins, everything burnt together. Batteries, lead acetate batteries, deadly, if it burns, and plastics, all these things burn in their compounds, and people in the neighborhood, they get affected. And in a larger scale, places like Brahmapuram plant, it happens in a larger area, larger quantities of waste and uncontrolled fire. Definitely, this is something very difficult to control, and it is going to affect our health. And these toxin gases which is going to come out from the plastic burning, let me tell you, this finally, animals like hen and cow and all, when they inhale, this go into their body. And ultimately, when we human being consume the milk and the egg and all, through the food particles, it gets transmitted into the human body. It starts getting accumulated, and it's definitely going to affect generations. And water body is getting polluted. You see the way water bodies are getting polluted by discharge of waste, whether it is municipal waste or industrial waste. This has been openly this is happening nowadays. Basically, where is that we are missing out? What is the challenge? Like, why we are not able to do all these things? So I would like to definitely come more into detail on each and every aspect of this particular problem which we are going to face, this problem we are facing today. But on a general note of it, let me tell you, everything starts, even in industry, we say the best treatment, the best way to avoid waste, to treat waste is to avoid waste at source. That is the first and foremost important thing. So every individual, every industry, we should be very, very careful that we are not generating unnecessary waste. Generate only what is just required to, that's where, when there is so much of scarcity on the food, don't buy too much of food and part of the food goes waste. It's simple, as simple as that. This goes on any resources, whether you talk about paper, clothes, anything, if you try to have things, materialistic, possessions, what is more than required, a part of it becomes waste. So let us not get into that. So it is very, very important, primary importance when you talk about waste management, to educate people to stop producing unnecessary waste. That means stopping waste at source. This has to start from the childhood, the education. It has to start with the education. Maybe it will take a few years or maybe many years. The next generation also, at least when they come up, the education system should be in such a way that they should develop this civic sense, this social sense, this care for the environment and things like that. They should understand that waste generation is something, it's very harmful to the generations to come. So this education part is very, very critical. When a government agency or an NGO or somebody is trying to, reduce the waste management hazards, this is the first and foremost important thing, that educating the person to stop producing unnecessary waste. The second thing is, try to understand. Everyone should understand. The individual should understand the types of waste and how it is harmful to the earth, to the nature, to the environment. They should understand that, and they should also understand the importance of segregating the waste when it comes to disposal, because not every waste can be treated in the same way when it comes to disposal. Like when you talk about food waste is something biodegradable, so it can be easily treated by composting, or even at home, at kitchen compost, bin composts are there, or in a larger scale it can be whether aerobic combustion or an anaerobic combustion. From the anaerobic combustion you can produce methane, some useful fuel, biogas can be produced, and that is food waste. And then the other part is the combustible waste, that is new paper, some coconut shell, things like that, which can be burnt. So this is something which has to be burnt in a controlled way, in a centralized place, like an incinerator. Incineration technology is something very old. It started in 1800. It's such an old technology, and today it is advanced quite a lot. You have modern incinerators which avoids any sorts of unwanted pollution. And then you have things like recyclables, like glass, metal, even newspaper to that extent. Large quantities of plastics like polyethylene, polypropylene, PET, polyethylene terephthalate, all these things can be recycled. So those items which can be recycled, and some deadly polymers like PVC which cannot be recycled and which cannot be burnt also. So that needs a separate sort of processing. Then you have another type of waste which is generated, the biological waste. Not biological, the biomedical waste from the hospitals and things like that, what is going to come out. And then there is another difficult to process waste like lead acetate batteries. And then we have electronic waste, which is a totally different category in itself. It cannot be combined with these things. So the segregation at source is very, very important. Successful governments or government bodies where they have implemented waste treatment plants in cities and in villages, they started with segregation, a proper segregation and collection system, which is very important. In fact, in some places you have heard about indoor process, how successful they are. Some places, even abroad, some places they have been successful in educating people. It starts with educating people how to segregate, and you have very good systems, modern systems. You spend money and you give a lot of importance to these things, which is very important. Waste is generally not, it's always not given the top priority, but it should be given the topmost priority, because the very essence of growth and development, sustenance depends on how well you treat the waste. So you have to spend money. You should have some aesthetics also, where you process the waste, where you collect the waste. End of the day, it's all for a good living condition we treat the waste. So waste is to be treated in a nice way, in a very neat and decent way. And then these waste, when it is, even the collection of waste, that has to be segregated into, like small households are generating very small quantities of waste. Still bigger establishments like shops and some markets, vegetable market, fish market, they generate biodegradable waste in large quantities. And so industries have still higher quantities. In fact, the misnomer today is that the Pollution Control Board or the Green Tribunal, all those controlling mechanisms generally act very efficiently on the big people. But it's very difficult to control and monitor the small players. So that's where once, more importance is to be given on the small generation places. I think quite a lot I have already spoken on this. This is a general discussion on the waste. In fact, in the next video, I'll be coming more into details on this. So once again, requesting you to please subscribe my video, subscribe my channel, like it and share it. Thank you very much.